Hello and welcome to Sound and Vision 2020 Vision. I am the host, Ian James, and again, as always, I am joined by the brilliant and beautiful and slightly dishevelled Miss Hope Wade.
Hello.
And today it is episode 26, The Goonies. Okay. Now, I got to say before we start even talking about the movie.
Okay.
Just suggestions for movies off different people, and we hear certain things get mentioned. It's like, oh yeah, we could do, I'm open to
Lost Boys, stuff like that.
Yeah, so I'm open to talking about any movie. And just recently, The Goonies has come up a couple of times, and we've heard people saying, why don't you guys do, something on The Goonies? Mm-hmm. So, as you wish, here we are, talking about the 1985 now cult movie, The Goonies. As always, what's your initial feeling on this?
I love The Goonies. It was one that I always would watch. It's, it's funny because it's not...
Because you were 10 when it came out.
Yeah. I didn't see it at the movies. Probably caught it on TV or video or something. I can't remember. But I like it. It's good. I'll watch it when it's on. It has a great cast.
Yeah.
Excellent cast. But it's not one that is overly my favorite.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
But I love it. I mean, I even love the Cyndi Lauper music, and it's just, it's a fun movie. I think it's a fun movie.
Yeah, and it's another one of those movies like Grease, which we covered a few weeks back, which seems to continue going. It's another forever favourite for people. It seems to keep going down generations.
Yeah, it does.
Which I always think is the sign of longevity. Then I always think is the sign of anything really good.
Yeah.
It will have a long life.
Yeah.
And I think this one does.
Mm-hmm. It's a cute story. It's a fun little story with little kids and stuff. So. Yeah.
Do you want to know how it started?
Tell me, please.
Okay. So, this is the story behind The Goonies. Basically, in 1984, just to kind of sum up what was happening at that time, in early 1984, Spielberg was probably the biggest director in the world at that point. I don't think anyone would really argue that. And it just seemed that everything he put his hand to around that period was turning to gold. So whatever Spielberg said went, basically. And at the beginning of that year, Gremlins had just been released, which Spielberg was executive producer on, which was written by Chris Columbus, and was written a long time beforehand, and then finally got made into a movie directed by Joe Dante. And basically, Spielberg and Columbus were close friends, and they were pretty much asked by Warner Brothers, the company that had just made Gremlins, whether they had anything else to go. And Spielberg had a story of these children who go on this adventure, and it would incorporate swashbuckling movies that you'd seen when he was younger. So it was almost like the Little Rascals mixed with, the Errol Flynn kind of swashbuckling pirate movies of the 40s. So he had this story which he wanted to build. He handed it to Chris Columbus, the rough outline of what he had, and Chris Columbus wrote a screenplay which quickly became The Goonies. Now, like I said, Columbus had just written Gremlins, and would also write Young Sherlock Holmes. So he was very good at writing these kind of movies geared around children, and eventually would go on to direct himself. He directed Adventures in Babysitting, among others. Also directed Home Alone, and then ended up working on the Harry Potter movies. So his career went from strength to strength. Anyway, this is a screenplay of his from 1985. From an idea by Spielberg, and together, again, Spielberg was executive producer as he was on Gremlins, got to choose who was going to direct the movie, and in came Richard Donner, who we've obviously mentioned and talked a little bit about in our podcast for The Lost Boys, because that was the movie that he was groomed to make straight after this one, and ended up taking Lethal Weapon, as I mentioned. I don't think I really need to explain too much about Richard Donner, except for that he directed The Omen and Superman and Inside Moves, Jerry, which is fantastic, and still, despite these big movies, it's still my favourite movie of his. So yeah, Warner Brothers with Spielberg's co-production company, which is Amberlin, which is the little logo that you see with the ET thing floats by, which most people go, that's the Spielberg thing. Made this movie on a budget of 19 million, so very generous for the time. It had a massive return of 124 million, which just goes to show how successful and the movie was, I should say. Made in the October of 1984, so it was quick work, from Gremlins straight onto this. They knocked the screenplay out, got on with making it. It took 5 months into 1985, then was released.
It only took 5 months to make it.
Yeah. So they were quite quicker in it, and especially if you consider that he wrote the screenplay very quickly as well to get it made. I think this really interesting. Not much in terms of the crew on the movie. It was shot, DP, director of photography was Nick McLean on this one, who had shot big movies. Again, pretty much reigned Warner Brothers. Had shot Cobra, the Stallone movie, and City Heat, the Clint Eastwood movie. He'd also shot Cannibal Run and Stoke Race, so made, shot movies for Hal Needham. Unfortunately for him, also did Short Circuit.
That's okay.
Yeah. The music by David Grushin is, should mention, again, is pivotal. Is a good score, even though he's not got a long string of credits to his name. I think he puts a good score in here, and it's quite memorable. Most people remember the theme music from this movie now. Not much behind the scenes stuff to really say other than that, in terms of putting the film together, getting it made. Mm-hmm. Basic story of the Goonies, that I'm sure most people already know, or have seen this movie already. And again, it's that thing, if you haven't seen it, why haven't you seen it? I'm sure you've seen the Goonies. Mm-hmm. Okay, but if you haven't, where are you? But basically the story of a group of kids who grew up and live in an area called the Goondocks, which is where they get the Goonies name from. Because they're the local kids of that area, which is in Oregon. And the town is about to be closed for the rich people to build a country club there. And obviously the kids don't want this to happen. And are trying to think of ways of preventing this from happening, and then stumble across a treasure map, as you do, because every ace has one. And then that leads them onto a treasure hunt. And we follow this group of kids called the Goonies, trying to find this treasure, hoping that once they do find it, they can use the money from that to prevent the country club being built. That is basically the story.
Was it the country club? I thought it was their house being taken away.
Yeah, they are. They're trying to, but the people of the country club are trying to clear the area.
Okay.
They're trying to get rid of all those houses and stuff to buy it up.
Yeah.
So they're trying to prevent that from happening. And the main focus of the movie, and of the gang then, is built around probably the gang leader of the Goonies, I'm pretty sure, which is Mikey, played by a 14-year-old Sean Astin.
Oh my
very
God, he's
young.
so tiny.
Yeah, very young.
Yeah.
And his older brother, who tags along for the course of the ride, Brandon, played by Josh Brolin, in his first movie. And of course, massive A-lister now.
Yeah.
I'm sure I don't need to explain who that is to everyone. No Country for Old Men, millions of credits to his name. He was 16, so a couple of years older than Sean Astin, who looks so much older than Sean Astin in this movie, though.
Yeah,
even though, and he was like a handsome young boy, and he ended up taking his chiseled looks right through life.
Yeah.
Lucky bastard.
He developed early.
He did. He also married Diane Lane along the way. I need to chuck this one in there, though, just because I can have the fun of doing this in front of you, right?
Oh, no.
So, Mikey and Brandon Walsh, the best Brandon Walsh ever on screen ever.
No, the Walshes.
Yeah, that's his name, Brandon Walsh, Josh Brolin.
Okay.
Yeah, the best Brandon Walsh ever on screen.
No, it's not the best Brandon Walsh. 90210 is Brandon.
And there it is. Brandon
and Brenda is the Minnesota Twins.
Okay, but
I didn't know there was another Brandon Walsh in the world.
This is your Highlander moment. There can only be one. Well, there's not. And it does predate Beverly Hills, so this is the real Brandon Walsh.
Nope. I ain't accepting that. I'm not accepting that.
All right. And then they're surrounded by this group of friends, which also includes Jeff Cohen as the character Chunk, which is the comedy relief of this movie.
He's my favorite.
Is your favorite the Goonies?
Yeah.
Okay.
Who's your favorite?
I'm just going to get back to that in 1 second. I'll rattle off the rest of these. Jonathan Key Kwan, I can never say his name.
Yep.
Plays Data.
Yep.
Booby Twaps.
Yeah, Booby Twaps.
Yeah. And of course, the Corey Feldman as Mouth, which fills out the Goonies gang, okay? And before we just talk about those actors for a second, you asked me who's my favourite from the Goonies.
Yeah.
It was always Mouth.
Mouth?
When I was really little.
Really?
And then Brandon, Josh Brolin, as I got older, just because he was older when he not so annoying as those little tykes that they are. But Chunk, it's funny actually, because we used to play because obviously the Goonies came out when I was about 6, so I was really young, and me and my friends all liked it. Some of them even helping to suggest us doing this podcast. And when we were at school during our play hour, we would act out scenes from movies that we seen. We were all kind of movies fans, which I'm really proud to say that my friends were, they were on my level of loving movies. So we'd act out scenes from films that we'd seen, which is really weird because at the age of 7 or 8, we were acting out scenes from Terminator and Predator, even though we're 10 years way too young to be seeing it. Excuse me. But we did the Goonies, and everyone would go, "Oh, I'm going to be Mikey. Oh, I'm going to be Data." Everyone wanted to be Data or Data. Right? Everyone wanted to be him, right? And no one ever wanted to be Chunk. And because I was the overweight kid,
you were stuck as Chunk.
Oh, is that funny?
It's just so fitting because I like Chunk. That means I would have liked you.
There you go. Maybe that's why we're together.
Do you do the
truffle shuffle?
Yeah.
No.
You know I'm gonna have you make you do that for me, right?
As long as you do the sloth thing, which we'll get to later.
I love that Sloth was his friend.
Yeah, I'm going to get to Sloth in a second. I'm just going to sound Jeff Cohen, who played Chunk then. The actor who played Chunk. Who's not Chunk now. He's lost a lot of weight now.
He looks so different.
But he's kind of out of acting. He doesn't act now. He I went for his filmography going back like a year ago or something. I was looking through whatever credits he had. There's no stuff in there. He just kind of really didn't. He just kind of left acting. Unless he did some TV or something. I don't know.
Maybe that traumatized him, being the chunk of the group.
Well, I think people still shout at him now to do the truffle shuffle stuff. Because I remember him being interviewed, going back when I looked it up, and he was on telly, and that's what brought him to my attention. And he was at some American football game somewhere, and someone said, "Dare to do a truffle shuffle?" Shouting at him, like, poor sod. And I think, he's just like, "Oh, really?"
Yeah. Why me? Why do I have to do this?
Yeah. Why am I being degraded? But Jonathan Key plays his dad to them. He just seemed to be everyone's favourite. And it's so funny because you watch it as an adult, he's probably the most annoying one out of the lot. It came off, obviously the Spielberg connection there for him, so he just came off Temple of Doom. Dr. Jones, yeah?
Yeah.
I'm going to get thrown off air now for doing that. But yeah, so he had the Spielberg connection already, and that's how we got into this movie. So that's the Goonies and half. And of course, Corey Feldman had just come off Gremlins, so there's the Chris Columbus connection and the Spielberg connection. There's wise cast as mouth. Mm-hmm. They are joined on their journey by the two girls, the great and underappreciated Martha Plimpton, yeah, absolutely.
I love her.
And the very little scene, Kerry Green.
I love her
who
too.
disappeared. Yeah, they were both great in this.
They did some.
I like their presence in this movie.
Yeah, she was in Lucas.
Yeah, Kerry Green.
Yeah, Kerry Green.
Yeah.
And she played a couple little parts back in the 80s, and then she just disappeared. She
Yeah.
was another one that
I think she never
disappeared.
quitted acting.
Did she?
Yeah, she no longer acts.
I always liked her, but Martha is just excellent.
And keeps going, doesn't she?
Yeah.
She's like an indie darling, isn't she? She's
Yeah.
always in an indie movie somewhere. Obviously, famously, Keith Carradine's daughter, which is, I love Keith Carradine. So.
Yeah.
And probably most famous to anyone who, other than Goonies, is probably for Parenthood, I guess. But yeah, Kerry Green is fantastic at Lucas. I should mention Lucas, actually, because I just want to mention that Corey Aim, obviously Lucas of that movie, auditioned for Mouth.
Oh, yeah.
And it's on this film set that he met Corey Feldman for the first time.
Oh, okay.
They crossed paths for the first time. So yeah, that's pretty much them alongside the girls search for the treasure map, which is found in the Walsh's attic, which I mentioned and we laughed at earlier. And it is the map of legendary pirate One-Eyed Willie.
That's what I call you sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why?
I don't know, it's kind of a nickname I have in the bedroom. But yeah, that was a great joke. Even when we were at school, we were all sniggering at that one. How the hell they got away with sneaking that one in?
One-Eyed Willie.
Yeah. It's his famous treasure map from, I don't know, 1632 or something. The year of the map. And of course then that leads him on to the adventure to find this treasure. And they kind of skid off on the bikes. And you have this great moment that Stranger Things is constantly trying to copy forever. The kids
where it comes
on
from,
the bikes.
Isn't it?
That and E.T. Let's say Spielberg just owned Hollywood at this point. Okay, and then we have the nemesis of the movie, which is the Fratellis family.
I love them.
Okay.
They're the best.
We got the mum, played by Anne Ramsey.
Oh, she's the best. Throw Mama from the Train.
Yeah, I knew he was going to mention I knew he was going to squeeze that in here.
It's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
I love that one.
And of course, famously has her head taken off by a basketball in Deadly Friend. Do you remember? Christy Swanson.
Yeah.
Great gore scene from 80s horror. And then the two, there's three sons. The two that are, the kind of henchmen of the movie then. Joe Pantoliano. I always struggle with this name. He was a great character actor. It turns up in Chris Nolan's Memento. Also turns up in The Matrix, probably most famously. But isn't a whole host of that. He's also in Risky Business. It was like the pimp. Which, yeah.
No.
If you had seen what I had seen an hour ago,
my Risky Business.
I hope. Yeah, I'm going to tell it. I'm just going to tell him that you did slide through the flat in your underwear.
With the theme music.
Yeah.
With the
Bob Seger. Yeah, the whole thing right here in front of me. Open her underwear, slide in her socks. Okay.
It was great. Made you laugh.
Made me more than laugh. No, we've done the One-Eyed Willie.
Yep.
Okay. Robert Davi.
He's put away.
Yeah. Robert Davi plays the other son, acne-faced actor that's in loads. He always ends up playing like Italian Americans and thugs and henchmen. Plays the other son, who does all the operatics, the opera, because he can actually do opera singing, so that was kind of him fitting that into the screenplay. Was brilliantly the club owner in Showgirls, which I have a perverse taste for. I'm actually one of the only people that would try and defend Showgirls for other reasons than the pornography, which is missing the satire of the movie.
That's the best water sex scene ever in cinema, right?
Because it's the only one. There's a reason. Dale Cooper will never be the same once you've seen that. Also, was a villain in the Bond movie License to Kill, which I think is one of the underrated Bond movies with Timothy Dalton, which I just wanted to put a shout out to while we were on this subject, because I have to. And then they got the other son, which is the H.P. Lovecraft deformed thing that was left in the basement, because he didn't look the part, which is the character Sloth, who will eventually, sometime in the movie, join the Goonies on their adventure and come to help them as he makes friends with Hope's favourite chunk. Now, the guy who plays Sloth, John Mutasak, I can't even say his name. Why do we just keep giving me these actors with the most impossible surnames? He wasn't really an actor. He was a retired American football player, I may add. Played for the Redskins, Kansas City Chiefs. He's a defensive end, and most famously played for the Oakland Raiders, which is why he wears the Oakland Raiders t-shirt in the movie. Nice. Is a nod to his past. Unfortunately, died of a heart attack in 1989, so only died 4 years after this movie. Of an enlarged heart, the size of him and what have you. Also, may add that Anne Ramsey also died in 1988, so she died straight after a moment from the train.
Oh, really?
Yeah, of an heart attack. So there's a little weird link there. Not better to do the poltergeist curse or anything, but does make you wonder.
Yeah.
They're the Fratellis family. Should also mention that it was a Scottish indie group from the early 2000s that named themselves after the Fratellis. Yeah. They had the competition for the Goonies to try and get to the map first, because they get wind after break out of jail sequence at the beginning. And then there's a race to find this treasure in these hidden caves when the kids finally get down there. And then that's the crux of the Goonies, is basically in that cave. Yeah. Of them working out clues, coming over obstacles. It
was a great production
links
set
between them.
Absolutely for 5 months.
Absolutely fantastic. Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned that. Because sadly, once they're down there, to find the map, which is on an old pirate ship called, I think it's called the Inferno is the name of the boat.
Okay.
Which is a fantastic set, you've just mentioned. Incredible. They actually built
a ship.
That ship just for the movie.
Really?
Right? And the saddest thing, and this is why I'm glad you mentioned it, is once the film finished, they put it around all other studios to take it away and use it. Nobody wanted it, and it got scrapped.
Oh my god. What's wrong with people?
I know.
I would have been making a movie just around that ship.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that Roger Corman used to do. If the set was so good, he's like, I'm going to try and make another film as quick as I can, just because the set is so good. It needs to be reused.
Yeah.
But sadly, the Inferno, the boat from the Goonies, was trashed instantly after the movie was made. Nobody wanted it.
See, they could have been using that in Pirates of the Caribbean right now or
something. But even Polanski made a film called Pirates in the mid-80s, which was made after Goonies. I mean, I don't know, it's just it seems such a sad waste of a brilliant set.
Yeah.
An incredible set.
And even around the set, like when they were doing, there's like, with the map, there was like these little tasks that they had to do to get the treasure. Yeah. And, just even like stuff like that going through the cave and them, that was just amazing too.
Yeah, they're all set. It's all set. Yeah, incredible production design. I mean, I should have noted the production design on this, because he's done such a fantastic job. Another cast member I forgot to mention is Steve Atton, who's in this, and he plays the minor role of Troy, the posh boy who's kind of going out with Kerry Green's Steph character. Do you remember her? And he tries to pull her back in and say, you're hanging out of those deadbeats kind of thing. He's in the last American version, which I still think is one of the most underrated 80s teen movies. And I always seem to bring that film up because I really like it. He's also in Survival Quest, directed by Don Cascalari, who also did the Phantasm movies. And I just wanted to mention him because even though it's only a small part of the movie, I kind of remember him as being a really horrible, posh little shit in it. And as an in for the plot, the Goonies against the Fratellis is basically what it is, and it's this big race for finding a map. And at the end, after brilliant scenes in a cave and on that wonderfully built ship, the Goonies obviously successfully come out on top, find the treasure, and restore the peace of the town and kind of cancel the plans and expose, everything as being corrupt. And that is basically the Goonies. It's a good, upbeat, good wins kind of ending. Just to talk about some of the other, away from that, because even talking about that, most people know the story of the Goonies, plot-wise. So I got a few facts, because I know you like these. Yeah.
I do like your facts.
Okay. Now, the film came out in 1985, and as I said, was a success. It made the money, still has a reputation. In 2017, it was historically archived as being an important piece, an important movie. It's one of those films that's just preserved forever. That's how highly thought of it is, which is, I always think, is the ultimate compliment to any movie.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how many people know that. It wasn't treated as just a throwaway kids movie, because it came out at a time, again, another podcast subject possibility, of just hundreds of children's movies that have enjoyed the longest life. The Never Ending Story.
Yeah.
Short Circuit, as I mentioned earlier on, Flight of the Navigator. There's some of these films, and the Boy Who Could Fly. Did you ever see The Boy Who Could Fly?
I think so. And wasn't like The Gate? Was it called The Gate?
Yeah, which was
something?
slightly for it's a horror movie, but yeah, again, more aimed towards teenagers at least.
What's the one with Ethan Hawke?
Explorers. Thank you. That's
I
perfect.
love that one.
Yeah. That's what I mean. There were so many of these kind of kids movies. But anyway, Goonies was the one that is picked and historically archived. Also, what I mentioned on the subject of Martha Plimpton, who we brought up. Yeah, she got over... she made a bet with the director when they started the movie, because she was constantly biting her nails, and it was doing Richard Donner's head in, the director of this movie. And he said, by the end of this shoot, I can guarantee you will drop the habit. And she made a bet with him over... I think he made a bet which involved loads of cigarettes. He was going to give her if she couldn't do it. And by the end of the movie, he did quit biting her nails. So,
and what, gained smoking?
No, I can't.
What kind of habit's that?
I know, I can't remember the whole thing on this now, but yeah, she did quit biting her nails, which she always says, when I think back at Goonies, I know, which is just random stuff. You love this random stuff. Also, another thing, about, while we're on the subject of Martha Plimpton, her and Corey Feldman, who plays the character Mouth, hated each other on this film. So.
I could see that, because I could hate Corey Feldman.
Yeah.
He wasn't my favorite Corey, which is another podcast we're thinking about doing, is 2 Corys, I think. That would be genius.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I could see hating him.
Yeah. And Richard Donner said the most awkward and hardest time on this film set was just keeping them two away from each other, because it was that bad, right? She couldn't stand him.
Yeah, he seems like a little shit, and he even admitted to it, that he was a shit on set.
Yeah, and any of the bickering that you see in the movie is pretty much real. And also, just to prove that Corey Feldman was a pain in the ass, he's a real fondly remembered 80s child actor, isn't he? We all go, he did Stand By Me and Gremlins and stuff.
And Friday 13th,
yeah.
part 4. Wasn't it 4?
Yes, 4 and 5. But he basically, there's this story, I'm not sure if people know this, that when they built the ship, they didn't let anyone see it until the day of filming, because Richard Donner, who was directing, said, I want to get a real reaction from my young cast.
Yeah, I remember
that when they seen this ship, they'll be all wilder. Yeah. Like, wow, this is amazing. Now, some of them played along with this. So, I've seen a recent interview where Josh Brolin, who's still very fond of the movie, even though he's A-list now, he doesn't look back and go, oh, the Goonies. He's quite happy to turn up and talk about it, which is really sweet. And he said, we were kept away from this. We knew we'd have this big surprise. We wasn't really sure what it was, and they all went out there. And trust Corey Feldman to ruin it by part of the night before they filmed the scene. He kind of sneaked down there and stuff. But he's just a pain. He sneaked down there and kind of already seen it.
Yeah.
And it kind of towed. I think he brought someone else down there to have a look at it as well, and just kind of sport the whole moment. Classic Corey Feldman pain in the ass stuff.
He's a little jerk.
Yeah. And what also to mention as well, that there is a little moment which, for a movie buff like me, appeals to me anyway, when they're on the boat and they're having this kind of swashbuckling sword fight at the end, which is a reference for Spielberg on the kind of movies that he wanted to make. There is a musical cue taken from Max Steiner's score for The Adventures of Don Juan from 1948. Just want to mention this because it always makes me chuckle, because I'm knowledgeable enough to know it, and when I hear it, I think, that's he's managed to put that into the score.
Yeah.
Which is a funny little moment. And also I must mention that the boat is based around the boat from Michael Curtiz's The Seahawk.
Okay.
From 1940. So the boat was already modelled on one from previous cinema, which is a classic Spielberg, obviously a love of big Hollywood movies.
Yeah.
Also, Jeff Coney played Chunk. got chicken pox as they started filming
That's
and
hilarious.
kept it quiet
Really?
because he knew he'd be replaced.
Really?
They were just starting to film, and it came on, and he was like, I don't want to lose my part in this movie.
Yeah.
And apparently kept it completely quiet, not
That's
to
so
lose the part.
funny.
And risking giving it to everyone else
I know. I was
who
gonna say,
hasn't,
did anybody
who hasn't
else
had
got
it.
it? Yeah.
There's also a line in the movie where Chuck does the whole, I got it, but boom, I don't got it, right? Which is stolen from I Anxiety by Mel Brooks, 1977 movie, which I love, by the way, because it's a Hitchcock homage. So, of course, I love it. And it used to annoy me, though, because I used to do the joke because of I Anxiety. I used to go, I got it, I don't got it. I used to drop it. And people used to go, oh, yeah, that's good, that's Goonies. And that used to annoy me. I was like, it's not fucking Goonies. It was stolen for Goonies. This is one you will like. This is a good one for you. Okay. When Spielberg's so hands-on with this movie, to the point where some say that he co-directed it. There's certain scenes that Spielberg directed himself, and I'm not sure, because that's hearsay, and I don't want to slag, I don't want to knock Richard Donner, who I'm sure if he'd ever listen to this, but I'm sure Richard Donner would go, hang on a minute, I made that movie. And in all fairness, he did. But apparently there's certain scenes that Spielberg did himself, and some of the people on set said, oh yeah, Spielberg shot that one himself, which just shows how hands-on he was with it.
Yeah.
Almost the same scenario that was on 1982's Poltergeist, where, it's now out there as a Tobe Hooper movie, but most people will commonly say, oh, it's a Spielberg movie.
Yeah.
And Tobe Hooper's ever so graceful and nice about the whole thing, and says, oh yeah, he was down there helping out and I made the movie. He never bitches about, oh, it's my movie. But there's a real clash of opinion on who directed that. Anyway, so Spielberg, just say to my point what I'm making here, Spielberg was so hand-on that he also had a big hand in the casting of this movie. Now, there's not much in terms of people at almost cast, which I know you like those stories, don't you? I haven't really got much on that one for you, but I will say that when Spielberg was casting this movie, Heather Langenkamp, who is your friend, is Hope's close friend, turned up to audition for the Kerry Green role as Steph.
Oh, okay. She would have been good.
Spielberg felt that she was too old for the part and turned her down. And apparently she held the grudge against Spielberg for years because she really wanted to do it.
Really?
And in return, because he felt so bad about it, they met up years later. And again, it's hearsay. Apparently, he wrote the part of I forget the name now, but the Doctor, the Laura Dern part in Jurassic Park. He wrote to kind of give back to her, and she turned the Jurassic Park thing down, which because of her personal life and things that were going on.
Yeah.
But I just think it's funny that it could have been Nancy, as we know her.
In Jurassic Park.
Yeah,
too.
In Jurassic Park. Yeah, I know. Oh, you got Laura Dern at the part. Apparently, that's all hearsay. So,
yeah.
But it did make me laugh. Also, on the data then, as we should mention him. Now, apparently, there's not much in terms of it being, a PG, this movie? It's still parental guidance, isn't it? And there's obviously not a lot in terms of bad language and stuff. Not what we're exposed to now, what's in a PG today. But there is a funny scene in it where Data falls down and he spells out shit.
Yeah.
And he just, S-H-I-T. And apparently, everyone's like, oh, that's really, really funny. And the only reason he did that is because he swore and promised to his parents that he wouldn't swear. And so...
that's sweet, though.
Yeah, he read it in the script before. Well, I can't say it, but if I spell it, I'm not saying it.
Yeah.
Which is another little bit that makes me chuckle. If anyone wants to know why he spells it and doesn't say it, that's why. Another bit of trivia. There is a scene in this movie which is cut, and I have to confess, I just watched it recently, just before we went on to do this, because I was really curious about it. At the end, when the Goonies emerge from the cave and all's well and all's good, the TV news reporters are all down and talking to the Goonies. And then they talk to Data, and he mentions, something about, there's this, we escaped this scary octopus thing. And because he's such, he tells the tallest tales in this movie, people just roll along in the script to say, no, it's just there's something else he's made up to make the story seem more fantastical and adventurous than it was. But actually, there was a scene that was filmed for the movie and then cut at the last minute.
Yeah, I could imagine when they fell in the water or something.
Yeah, it is. That's exactly where it is. Yeah. And apparently, it does turn up on when that film is transmitted or put out at certain times on TV or wherever. That scene turns up every now and again in it again.
Yeah.
Now, my memory is never seeing it, and that's why I checked today just before we did this. And
Yeah.
I don't ever remember there being a scene with that. But you're absolutely right. It's when they jump
In the water.
overboard into the water. Finally enough, it's a scene where Martha Plimpton is trying to get out of the water, and this giant rubber monster octopus, which I absolutely adore.
Yeah.
Now I've seen it, I'm like, shit, why is that not in the movie?
Yeah.
Of course it looks fake, and that's probably why they didn't go with it, but yeah, I love that kind of stuff. So basically Octoman starts clawing at Martha Plimpton, and Martha Plimpton can't see it, and she thinks it's Corey Feldman who's walking behind her, and she's like, get off me, don't touch me. And you can feel the tension there.
Yeah.
No one hated each other.
Yeah.
And it's this giant octopus, and Data jumps in and uses one of his gadgets, his Bond desk gadgets. I think it's a tape recorder or something. Sticks it in the octopus's mouth, and off he goes. And she's kind of saved. So this fantastical 2-minute scene, which is cut from the movie, it actually was filmed, and it does exist. And I don't know, maybe it's just me that never saw that scene. But I have now, so I've rectified that. And I liked it. But then I like rubber monsters. Yeah, and let's do a little talk on the Cyndi Lauper moment, which I know you're going to want to mention.
Yeah. I like Cindy's
commissioned to write a song for the movie.
Yeah.
Which is good enough.
Yep.
Which I don't think is on any of her albums, by the way. And the only reason I know that is because, not on actual studio albums, I'm sure it's on hits, compilations and stuff, yeah. Now, my sister was a big Cyndi Lauper fan.
Yeah.
Madonna, Cyndi Lauper, the whole thing, pretty much like yourself. And she used to love this song, and it was back in the day, once again, pre-internet and things like that. And she was like, oh, how do I get out? And I always remember that being a really hard song for her to get hold of. So that's how I remember it being quite unique. And they shot a video for it, which features the cast.
The Goonies.
Yeah, and also the wrestlers, Lou Albino and Roddy Piper. Because Cyndi Lauper's kind of got a WWF, as it was known then, connection, hasn't she?
Yeah, she does. She was on one of WWF at one point.
Yeah, was she a manager for some of them? She
Yeah,
used to come down
I think so. Yeah,
because they turned up in a lot of her kind of
videos.
Because Lou Albino's in Girls Just Want to Have Fun too.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a point in this movie as well where they kind of the Goonies are sat at the Walsh house watching the TV, and the Cyndi Lauper song comes on the TV, and it's not the clips from the movie, but Cyndi Lauper comes on TV, and apparently that wasn't there when they filmed that sequence. They were basically looking at a blank TV.
Oh, really?
And Richard Donner said, I'll fill that in later. So just, another little bit of trivia. The soundtrack also includes tracks from Rio Speedwagon and the Bangles.
Did you call it Rio Speedwagon?
Rio!
It's Ario.
But today?
You fucking English people, man.
Is it? Okay. Well, if that's the case, the River Thames has its own name as well,
The Thames.
The Thames, yeah.
Is it the Thames?
Yeah, the one that flows through London, the Thames.
Is it the Thames?
No, it's the Thames. Was there a Bangles track in this, by the way?
A what?
Was there a Bangles?
A Bangles?
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't remember.
Apparently there's in the same track, so...
I can't remember.
Come on, Hope.
I know. Well, I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't either. My sister was a massive fan. I don't ever remember mentioning the Bangles were ever in the Goonies. Other things to really mention about it, other than it kind of inspired... Was that kind of... I mean, most of these films, when they're successful, inspire kind of cash-ins or really bad versions of. Do you remember there being a really bad version of the Goonies? Is there anything that resembles... Because the Goonies, in a way, it is almost like an Indiana Jones movie, isn't it? But for children.
Yeah. And was it that kid that played Data? Wasn't he in...
As I mentioned earlier on,
yeah,
he's in Temple of Doom,
Temple of Doom. Okay, yeah.
So he must have just felt like he was walking around the same set again. He's basically doing the same thing, getting chased around caves.
He had gadgets in that too, didn't he?
Yeah.
Or something like that. I can't remember. It's been a while since I watched it, but I just remember him being in it.
Yeah, and he also, I just mentioned this as well, he's also, you see him, we're doing the English-American thing here for a second, he is also in...
It's not Rio.
Yeah, it's not the Thames, or the Thames, or the Thames.
I didn't even say that, I said it's the Thames.
The Thames.
The Thames River.
Yeah, somewhere, not in this country. But yeah, Data we're mentioning here then, he was in another movie with Sean Astin, but they shared no scenes in it.
Who was?
Jonathan Key Kwan, who plays Data.
Oh, really?
And Sean Astin, who plays Mikey, were in a film together in 1992, but they shared no scenes in it, but they were both in the movie. And it's one of the last jobs I think Jonathan did before he quit acting. Did you know what film it is?
No.
No?
Do you?
Have I beat you?
Maybe.
It's California Man.
Oh, God. Encino Man?
I set you up for that.
There you go.
Yeah.
See? Crazy British.
Always.
California Man. Like, you wouldn't know what Encino is. It's just a fucking city.
I know.
In California.
I know. It's the California Man.
No, it's not.
It is. Oh,
Oh,
and it's
God.
not the English beat either. It's the beat. Right. Okay.
It is the English beat.
No, just the beat. So yeah, that's kind of basically the only other stories I have for you, except for one more, which I think you'll probably like this one. Once the movie had quit filming in 1985, and it was all done, and it was out there, and that was it. Of course, as I said, the boat, sadly, was scrapped. Some of the props were handed out, after the movie finished. Now, the treasure map, the One-Eyed Willie treasure map, was given to, or taken by, Sean Astin. He's like, can I take that as a souvenir from this movie?
Okay.
Yeah. He took it home, and it lasted at his house for less than a year. Now, remember, he was 14 at the time, so he was still living at home. And apparently, One-Eyed Willie's treasure map was thrown out by Patty Duke as she was cleaning his bedroom.
Patty.
She said, oh, what was that?
Why would she do that?
She just said, what was that ruffled up piece of paper under your bed? And threw it out.
It was ruffled up.
Well, it was all rolled up. And of course, it was designed to look tatty and old, wasn't it? It was all sepia-tinted, yellowy-looking
map.
map.
Why do mothers do that?
To clean their son's bedroom. I know.
I've had stuff thrown out, and like my magazines that I've
Yeah.
saved,
Yeah, no, it's the same thing. One of my closest friends, I'm not going to name on here now, Andy. Yeah, I remember his mum cleaning his bedroom, and she said, oh, I've kind of dealt with your bedroom, but I've left a few magazines on the side that you might want to look through. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I just don't understand that. I'm disappointed in Patty.
I know. Just let him deal with his bedroom, isn't it? So yeah, and basically the moral of the story is, if you are keeping something you really don't want seen by your parents, don't put it under your bed. Is basically the moral.
Should have framed it.
Oh, yeah, I know. Or just done something with it, rather than just leave it under his bed.
Yeah.
I knew you enjoyed that bit of trivia.
So it was Baby Ruth's popular
yeah.
after this? Baby Ruth?
Is that as good as we're going to get from you?
Yep, that's my sloth.
Go on, give me the other.
No.
Go on.
I can't.
You can.
I'm passing.
Right. Anyway, she does a brilliant sloth impression. Hey, you guys. It's that, but 10 times better.
No. But yeah, I could assume like Baby Ruths were like skyrocketing then, like the candy bar.
Yeah. No, but that's how, because they obviously don't sell them here in England. We're busy buying Oreos, Speedwagons, which is like another imported chocolate from you guys. No, but I've certainly become aware of it. And so when I took my one visit to America, I remember like seeing those and thinking, oh, they're from the Goonies.
Did you try one?
Yeah, they're okay.
Yeah. I'm not a peanut fan, so I didn't like.
Oh, you don't like
much.
Snoopy? Booms.
If you would have seen my face right now, you'd see.
No, it was a real she almost like point of yeah, that was brilliant.
Right.
It's so good.
We're like, no.
I know, and I was, it was a good gag. And on my last piece of trivia for the Goonies for you there's lots of continuity mistakes in this movie, by the way, I must add, which I've always noticed every time I watch it.
Yeah.
I'm sure his dad jumps in the water twice. Yeah, little things like that where you kind of go, well, has he already jumped in? But which is it's just the way of films, isn't it? Continuity, we can't help it.
Well, who edited it? Come on.
I don't know, because even Goodfellas, which I adore, has tons of continuity problems. Paul Savino's fag is long, is short, is long, is short. Trust me, people will know what I'm talking about there. But there is one mistake in this movie that is the standout mistake for me, and it always makes me chuckle when I watch it, and I always hone in on it every time I see it. I think, oh, there it is. And it is a scene where do you remember the scene where they're at like that derelict restaurant place, which we first meet the Fratellis, when they take away Chunk, they kidnap Chunk, and it's when Chunk meets Sloth and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Now, just before that, they're escaping from the restaurant, they find a way out, and there's a scene where a panic-stricken Sean Astin as Mikey turns to Brandon, his brother, and says, oh, and he should say, Brandon, what are we going to do? And he goes, oh my God, what are we going to do, Josh? And he drops his real name in, and it's there, and it's still there.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah. And
I love stuff like that.
I love the fact that Josh Brolin, though, it doesn't skip a beat, he just carries on going.
Yeah.
Whether he noticed or not, I don't know. But it is still in the movie, and it's really obvious.
Like I said, the person that edited it, wouldn't you just sit there and say, why did he say Josh?
I don't know. I mean, maybe they were just so in the moment, because there's a lot going on at that point. Maybe it got lost, and then by the time 5 minutes later, it was like, I don't want to film that 5 minutes all again. That was too good. It's there anyway, and you will notice it if you go back and take a look at that now. So yeah, I mean, and it's just a little tidbit that I really like.
Yeah. What year was Goonies?
1985.
85?
Yeah.
What year was Stand By Me?
1986.
86. So
Yeah.
Corey Feldman did that.
Straight onto that one, yeah.
Yeah, because, you know, it kind of has that same, too, well, with kids and, because wasn't there like a dead body in the meat locker at the place where they had him? And I mean, that's pretty intense for like a young kid movie.
In the Goonies, yeah. And
Yeah.
also, you've just reminded me as well, is check out the dead body, because it blinks twice. Okay?
Does it?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I'd never noticed that.
The continuity,
Yeah.
the mistakes.
Yeah.
Not that I'm sat there over-analysing the movie. I still obviously really enjoy the movie. I mean, my last words on this movie, I think we've covered pretty much most of the things of it.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit like you. I've got to say, Goonies is a movie that I watched as a young boy and really like, you know, the sense of adventure. I mean, my friends liked it and we'd pretty much act out scenes from it. And then I seen it again years later when I was in my 20s, after not seeing it for ages. And I gotta be honest, I watched it with a hangover and it was agony.
Was it?
It was 2 hours of kids screaming and I had the worst hangover. And I watched it. Did I ever like this fucking movie?
Yeah. I know, it's weird. Like, you know, that's a question for people is, you know, is there a movie that you watched when and then changed your mind later on? Like when you're younger or...
To answer that question for myself, Flight of the Navigator.
Really?
Which I loved as a little boy.
Yeah.
I watched it again the other day. It was utter shit. Sorry.
And you're like, why did I...
I know. I was like, God, I used to love this.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, that's another film that needs a remake, even though I'm one episode behind answering that question. Flight of the Navigator, give that one a remake. And then I have to say, you know, I finally had my own children, my own 2 kids, and I've seen the Goonies again, and it plays a lot here in England. It plays a lot on TV.
Yeah, I'll watch it when it comes on.
Yeah, and I go back to it now, and I kind of go, oh yeah, you know, it's okay. You know, I've got over that hangover stage in my 20s when I was a grumpy young man. But I will say there's you know, and rightfully so, I guess, for this day and age, I think, because I'm going to ask you this little question before we finish. This is the last kind of question I'm going to give you, is when the Goonies plays on TV now, which it does, in the afternoon, it's a PG, why not? They'll take certain scenes out of it now. Yeah. Now, if you remember at the beginning, he fakes that he's hanging himself in the prison cell when they escape the Fratellis brothers.
Yeah.
Now, that scene is completely edited out when it plays TV.
Okay.
Okay, are you okay with that?
No.
Okay. And also, when Spielberg re-released E.T. for the DVD market, when he first got his DVD release then, he tinkered with it, as all directors can help tinkering with their work now. George Lucas with the Star Wars movies and stuff. And this one really annoyed me. Spielberg, as much as I love the guy as a filmmaker, I don't know why he did this, but the policemen in E.T., another thing that needs a podcast, by the way, E.T., 'cause we could talk about E.T. all day. Okay?
I'll just cry during that. I can't.
Yeah. But yeah, there's a scene at the beginning of E.T. where his spaceship comes down and he gets out and he gets left behind, and then, like, is it the FBI or something turn up and they're kind of chasing it around, and you don't see their heads, you just see their bodies, which is a fantastic trope of E.T., which I will mention when we do the E.T. episode. Now, they're carrying, if you remember, like walkie-talkies on their belts and guns and stuff. Well, he edited out all the guns on their belts, so they're not carrying guns. No guns in a kid's movie. No guns.
That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, this is just. I wanted to just chuck these couple of things out there before we finish this podcast. I mean, how do you feel about that? I mean, for the sensitive nature, I understand it, but are we really gonna try and go back and delete everything? Because, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, if you put it in there, it should stay in there.
And especially, so, I mean, it's not that they use the guns; they're just carrying guns.
Yeah. And
the fake suicide scene at the beginning of the Goonies, which I mentioned in there. I mean, I know I can have my own problems with that subject, but
see, I don't remember that scene as a kid, and I watched it as a kid.
Exactly,
so
they never mentally scarred you.
It didn't scar me any. And if I see a gun, I'm not going to want to go shoot it. You know, that's a whole different reason. That's other circumstances of why kids want to use guns, and you know what I mean? Like, that's just a whole different reason, not just because it's shown in a movie.
Yeah.
I don't believe that stuff.
Yeah, that just kind of go back taking things out. I don't know, I just wanted to mention it because I think censorship and things like that would make a great podcast too. Although somebody's probably listening to this and thinking, oh my God, I definitely won't be listening to that one.
Well, that's a touchy subject, I think,
it
today.
is,
especially today, because everybody's so fucking sensitive over everything.
Yeah, and the thing is, I can't even elaborate on that because they are that sensitive. I might upset them, so I'm not going to. I think we're better off leaving that one.
We'll leave it
there.
Okay. This is PG.
This is the PG one, yeah. This is a PG release. Featuring.
Yeah, featuring.
Rio Speedwagon. Okay.
No.
Okay. So, as of this one, I mean, yeah, the Goonies.
Goonies.
It's an 80s children's fantasy classic. If you haven't seen it, go and check it out. If you have seen it, I hope to God we've done it justice. But as of this episode of Sound Division, episode 26, this is Ian James saying goodbye.
And this is Hope saying goodbye.
Goodbye.